Welcome to the Hashtag Show. I'm your host, your sports guy. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm my good friend, JK. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, people? Yeah, I hear you. Hello?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm on my way. I'm on the way to the studio. Appreciate you. Tonight, I have some big guests for you. JB, your sports guy on YouTube, and Vashawn K. Jones on YouTube as well. And also subscribe to our Facebook page, Vashawn Jones and Jared JB Boyd. So we appreciate you joining us. We got a very special guest, and you see in the background, there's a reason for it because this is a big, big week for the city of New Orleans, Algiers, and also in streaming land. Jared, introduce our guest.
well, documentary series, Algiers America, they on Hulu. And it's about Edna Karr, who was also about the crime and murders that happened not only in New Orleans, but in Algiers, and shows how the Edna Karr Cougars football team is trying to have his kids live a positive and to stay out of trouble. Special guest for today is the director of Algiers America, Fager. Jackson, how you doing?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
We're doing great. Thanks for coming on. My first question to you is, how did you guys come up to name the show Algiers America?
Well, even, as you were just saying right there, that this is focusing not just on New Orleans, but on the neighborhood of Algiers. What was important to us is that by calling it Algiers America, we're trying to say that every inner city neighborhood around the country can relate to this. So we didn't want to give it a cliche New Orleans title. We kind of wanted to leave people, with a little surprise that it is even about New Orleans when they first click on it. And then, that everyone can relate to this was a big thing for us because they can, and that's important to know.
Why Edna Karr High School? Why did you want to say Edna Karr?
Honestly, thanks to my friend Juan Kincaid over at Fox now. I used to work with Juan at WWL in my 20s. That was my first job here in New Orleans. I was a cameraman. I covered, everything in this city, all the good, all the bad. But my favorite part of the job was Friday Night Lights football, high school football in New Orleans. I was hooked the way you guys are. I still see VK at the games, and we're still so excited every time all these teams play each other when it's a big rivalry, right? And so that just stuck with me. And I went away for a while. I lived in New York. I lived in Africa, and I came back. And, gun violence was a problem when I was here before, and it still is now. And I think it's only gotten worse. And so I thought it was a good opportunity to tell a story about two things that are really important to me. One, I love football, and I wanted to showcase Louisiana high school football. And two, the problem of gun violence in this country that I think goes way underreported. And so I told Juan that I was looking for a coach in the city that fit this profile that was helping kids in their community. And he gave me a few names. I met with different coaches, and Bryce Brown, as you guys know, is just an unbelievable guy. And immediately I knew this was the guy I had to be with.
Who were the other coaches you meet up with, if I may ask that question?
I met up with JT Curtis and his two sons, who are fantastic guys. And then I met up with Keenan Lewis at Landry.
You speak of Bryce Brown, and he's highly respected in the city of New Orleans and the state. He's won 4 championships at what is it about Bryce Brown that we may not know or may not see on the series?
That's a great question, man. Look, I've spent the last 3 years with Bryce, okay? I mean, my first phone call with Bryce was 3 years ago in May. So 1 month from now. And I'll tell you, he's a pretty private person, as you might know. And so it's an interesting question because he doesn't like people knowing too much about him, right? But Bryce, he's a pretty intimidating person. He's a very honest person. He's the most sincere person I've probably ever met. But I think that the biggest surprise for me in all my time with him is that he has a huge, huge heart. And that should make sense when you see the way these kids have responded to him over the years and why he has so much success. I think it's because of how big his heart is.
I watched 1 and 2 today. I got for work, and I'm ready for episode 3. And Justice Brown in a different light. I mean, my gosh, the way he taught me the gift of gab, and to me, I think he could sell me a car like that. But the way he relates to his players, to me, is also phenomenal. Because as we saw on 1 and 2, a lot of players, they are from Algiers, but they live in troublesome areas. For him to be motivated to want to get these kids into college, which he's got over 180, just speaks a lot about the guy he is. VK.
You broke there a little bit, but what I'll say just off of what you said there, my man, is that first off, Bryce, just every interview we did with him, when you see him on TV, it looks like he's reading from a teleprompter. He's that good, right? It's like it's when you see him speak, whether it's on stage or in front of the kids, it's like, how is this coming out of his dome? I mean, like this is not rehearsed. He is so careful with his words. He is one of the brightest minds I've ever been around. And to go to your second point, what makes him so special and important to these kids is that, like you said, he grew up in Algiers. He can relate to them. He's not that old. He's only 37 years old, by the way, right? I tell people he's 1,000 years old because he's so wise, but he's only 37, but he's lived that life of hardship as well. His father was murdered. His best friend was murdered. He's lost 7 of his favorite players, as in 7 players on his team since he started coaching, okay? So this guy's seen everything. And that allows him to connect with these players like no one else can. They trust him. And it all comes down to trust, right? That's what makes him so special.
Absolutely. And I gotta say this, more than anything else, and we talked about this, Jackson, about his history. You know, Bryce Brown was a former player of Edna Karr, being a part of the product himself under Don Watney, and for him to wind up working under Jabbar Jalouk, being a part of the continuing tradition, and for him to take it to another level as the head coach, it's just been amazing in his journey. And for him to just stay committed to the city of Algiers and stay committed to Edna Karr High School. And the biggest thing, it just shows that, you know, he cares for the kids, and he really wants to set not just his players for success, but the school for success more than anything else. And, you know, it's amazing now that, you know, now we didn't put something, you know, that Mr. Jackson, you put this whole project together. I was really, really amazed that I'm like, wait a minute. The first time I met you and I seen a bunch of familiar people I worked with in the television industry, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are all these cameras out here? What's going on? And I was like, when they told me, like, and I was like,
shoot, I think we lost VK there for a second.
I'm here. I'm okay. Hold a second. Yeah, I was saying that the fact that you was like, hey, I said, you need anything? He said, how much you know about Carr? I said, I know a lot. I've been covering the game for a long time, and on top of that, I remember when Carr was first high school. So I gave a lot of history, and he was like, great. Like if I see you again, I need you to come on camera. It was a good connection between us
Yeah,
and
man.
stuff like that. And and I think what I'm going to see, I haven't seen it yet, but I see things are kind of especially how Edna Karr and Algiers' profile.
VK, you dropped out for a second there, but I'll just go off a couple of things you said. And first of
Right.
all, we had the premiere on Saturday night at the Orpheum Theater, which was really special. And Coach Jabbar Jalouk was there. I mean, talk about just a freaking legend. I can't say enough about that guy. And, he'll be the first to tell you that none of this happens without Don Watney and Rock Wildbacker and Bill Robinson, those guys before him, right? But Jabbar Jalouk, when he took over as coach and Bryce was a senior in high school, they couldn't even win a playoff game. And to see what he did just over those years and the players that he had that really built this program, it's been so fun to learn about all that. And, when I talk to Bryce now over these years, Bryce really respects Coach Jalouk. And a lot of the things that Bryce preaches came from Coach Jalouk, right? Because Bryce didn't have a father. And Jalouk was a father figure, an older brother, a mentor, so many things to Bryce. And talk about just two of the greatest guys that you could have in this city, right? It's not an accident that Edna Karr is the powerhouse it is today when you have Jabbar Jalouk and then Bryce Brown running this team. So, look, I'm a huge high school football nerd now. And VK, it's been so fun to run into you at these games. And yes, I did use a lot of the guys.
Very much fun. The other thing, if you didn't, here's the thing, Jackson, you might not know. I don't know if I told you about this, and I might have did, but Jared knows about this. The time when Jabbar Jalouk was head coach and everything, we know Bryce wound up coming back on the staff later on and everything. The biggest and best thing that ever happened to Edna Karr was the fact Jabbar Jalouk, the majority of that staff was Karr graduates.
Yeah.
And for him to do that kind of set the bar for the future of what Edna Karr is going to be. And I think that was one of the smartest things maybe I ever seen from a high school coach that is an outsider that has taken over. We seen the only other coach that I have seen that was smart enough, that was an outsider that did similar things, was David Johnson, who coached at St. Augustine. And nobody thought that David Johnson would do the job he did at St. Aug, and he turned St. Aug around and turned it into a power once again. So it's just a fact. It depends on your staffing, and it doesn't matter who's a guy or not, as long as they can come in, do their job and everything else. But for what Jabbar did, setting the bar for the foundation of Karr now, it was unbelievable, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, well said, VK. That guy blows me away, man. And, now he's coaching at Florida. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the head NFL coach in a few years.
Well, I think he's going to, we'll see, but but he really loves being an assistant. We conversated a couple of times, and, he kind of loves what he do, so I don't know, but I want to ask you this more than anything else. And I don't know if Jared gave me the okay to go ahead and ask questions, but I'm gonna go ahead anyway. Oh, you did? My bad.
Yes.
Okay. But here's the thing. I wanted to ask you how I was really putting things together for the episode talking about Tillett George. And we're talking about a guy that was a great all-around athlete, And I tell you one thing, he was a guy that basically waited his turn, and then all of a sudden he steps in and had one of the best seasons in Karr history and gets them to the state championship, coming up short against Franklinton in overtime, and probably to me the best state championship game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And for him to have the game he had, and after the game, him and Jabbar Jaluk embraced each other after the ball game. I'm just feet away from the both of them. But for him to just lose his life the way he did, and then the tragic part, the fact that this happened 2 weeks after he graduated from college. How it was, finding out about the story and putting that episode together, because his mother, I tell you, she has strength from the grace of God itself.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this up. I have so many things to say on this. First of all, Miss Rhonda George is one of the most special people I've had the privilege of getting to know, and has been so critical to this series and to helping the community, us earn trust in the community. And she's just a beautiful, beautiful woman. Look, I'll first tell you this, guys. I was filming for WWL, and when I was it was 2010 or 2011 was that championship game.
2010.
We were doing a story on Terrence McGee that year, me and Juan Kincaid, and the story is about how his grandmother had never seen him play a football game, and we filmed him until that championship game. We were at the Dome when they lost, and Karr lost the game in overtime on a fumble there, right?
Right.
And I'll never forget it. And VK, I can't believe you were standing right there, because that moment of Coach Jaluk and Tonka hugging is a picture that I think is maybe one of the most important and famous in New Orleans high school football history. And so look, it was the episode 1 focuses on the backstory of how Karr got to where they are today, and how the program took this turn because of the murder of Tonka George, and Bryce and these coaches deciding that even though they already did so much for these kids, but just that they had to do even more and check up on their players all the time and care for them and love for them at an even greater level than they already were. Tonka George is the catalyst for what really changed in the program. And so we wanted to get that right in this story, and it wasn't easy. And it was hard to relive some of that and talk to Bryce about it, and, be respectful that this is a memory that hurts all of them, that they still live with. And to, I went with Miss Rhonda to the gravesite. I've spent a lot of time with her. We've talked with all the players and coaches about it. We wanted to represent him right, accurately, and well in that first episode. And I think we do a good job of it. And I got to tell you, man, when I watched the old videos of him, I wish I had known this kid. And he was a wide receiver. That was his position. And then they made him a quarterback his junior year. He had never played quarterback before. That's just how tremendous of an athlete he was. And you're talking about in a state where the best football is being played in this country. And you just take this dude from wide receiver and you make him a quarterback. And you look at those highlights of him. If he's scrambling, he's not running forward. He's running sideways to avoid tackles eventually until he can find someone to throw the ball to. He's just like a G. It's so beautiful, and it's so tragic at the same time, because I can't get over how special that kid was, and he was such a pillar in the community, and look at the effect that he had on the community, right? And so I'm honored that we get to put him in this story, and we get to include his mother in this story, and his sister, and Coach Buddha too, who's a park ball coach, who's Tonka's brother-in-law. So, we try to keep his story alive throughout the series because, yes, he's such an important part of the story.
I want to ask you about the game 5 didn't happen for Karr. Give us some about that game and how Karr was able to deal with losing in the state championship game.
Which game? Sorry, you broke up there, VK.
The one against Karen Crow.
What was your question?
Like, talk to us about the game itself when we lost the championship.
Oh man, I got to be honest. So we go up to that game, and this is in the middle of COVID. We forget that now, but really, COVID was taking those waves where it was really bad, and then it would die down a little bit, and then it would come back, and so they had to play the game at this neutral site right up in Natchitoches. And so it wasn't played in the dome like it is every other year. So the team's traveling 5 hours to get to this stadium. And I have only been with the team for, 3 months at this time. But they're unstoppable. They beat Easton in the semifinals. They're like 50-14 or something. And so I'm in the locker room with them before the game. And I'm talking to the coaches like, this is a no-brainer. Like, they're going to win. We're all good. Who is this team? Whatever. It doesn't matter. And they ended up being a phenomenal team. Karen Crow, you gotta, hats off to them, because at halftime they changed their game plan. Karr was winning at half. And all of a sudden they throw some trick plays and it just catches them off guard. And just like that, they just took over. And when I started following the team, I was so concerned about, man, they got to win this 5th game. They got to win this 5th straight championship. Otherwise, we don't have a story here. But what stands out to me most about the Karen Crow game is, one, that, yes, they lost the game. And it was heartbreaking for so many reasons. But I'm in the locker room with them after the game. And 4 coaches get up and speak to the kids. It's Coach Norman Randall, Coach BJ, Coach Taurus Howard, and then Bryce. And I thought going into it that these coaches were going to just be sore losers. I mean, I didn't know them that well yet, right? And this was a big game. It was to win 5 straight championships, 5 for Tonka, 5 to be the only school that's ever done this in the country as a predominantly African-American school. For so many reasons, it was such a big deal. But they were they carried themselves with such class. And the speech Bryce gave to them, we only show a couple minutes of it in the film. Man, I wish we could show the whole damn thing. But in that moment right there, as he spoke to them, it had nothing to do with winning or losing the game. He was talking to them about responding from this moment on, and how to be a good person in life, you have to be consistent, and you have to work at this every day with all these temptations that are fighting you. And it was so beautiful. And right there, I was like, this is why I'm following this guy. This is why I'm doing this story. It was never about winning this game. Bryce is not in this for that reason. Bryce is here because he's helping these kids get through this environment and graduate. And he doesn't give a shit if they won or lost this game. And I swear to you, after 3 years with this guy, he really doesn't give a shit.
And it showed in episode 2. Said winning or losing doesn't build champions. Being a champion, guys are already. In which I thought to me was a phenomenal speech that he gave to his team. How important coming season was it for Karr to want to still show people that they are perennial power, still one of the best teams in the state?
Yeah, I mean, it was so important to them. I mean, because when you win so often, that's then just expected, right? Like that, I think, and I feel bad for them because it is so damn hard to win the state championship in Louisiana, and they do it 4 years in a row. and then they lose, and they're devastated, and they've let the whole community down. And I'm with these kids 2 days after they've lost the game to Karen Crow, and they're training, getting ready for the next season. And not with Bryce, because there's the rule on like you have to wait. I don't know, it's like 2 months or something before Bryce is allowed, the high school regulations, right? But these kids are training 2 days after the loss to get ready for this next year. That's how bad they want it. And the whole theme of the next season is reclaim what was taken from you. And just to be with them through those 9 months, I think that's the heart of the story. That's what you see in episode 2, because you see what they're going through on and off the field. And the fact that they wake up every day, and not only did they decide to be the incredible kids and young men that they are, but that they work so hard. I don't know if people realize that. It's like a lot of people just like chalk it up to, oh, they're just talented. That's why they're so good, right? This team works harder than any team I've ever been around. Every one of them. And that is in their institution. That is what Bryce and the coaches have handed down to them. That is their mindset. It's remarkable to be around. I hope we show it well enough in these episodes, because I don't think anyone works harder in the state than this team.
Jackson, I wanted to ask you, we talked about, you're getting this thing going in the documentary. Can you share with us, how did you wind up getting this documentary to Hulu? Because I know you said we're shopping this around like crazy. It's gonna be done. How did Algiers America wind up landed to Hulu?
Let me tell you, man, this whole damn experience was so humbling. I mean, I gotta admit, like, I've got some confidence in me. I feel like after what I had done up to this point, I was like, all right, there's no problem. I got a great story here. This is going to be easy, but it ended up actually being really hard to get someone on board. And actually what's disappointing to me, and disappoints me about this industry in this world we live in, is that I made it clear to everyone, all the networks, that this was a real story about important things happening in our country. And yes, it's an inspiring story, but it's also a tragic story. And we're going to talk about real shit happening here, right? Real shit to kids, gun violence, which is an epidemic in our country right now. And people want Ted Lasso. They want a story that is on Michael Jordan. That's great. Or Magic Johnson, or something that you already know can be scripted and it's easy. It's ready to be handed in on a silver platter. This is happening in real time, and we don't know where it's going. We just know that we're going to do our best to capture it, and we're going to be along for the ride, and it's not all going to be great. And everyone passed except this one group, Anscape, which is a studio within ESPN, and they're a new studio. And as soon as they saw what we were doing, they got it. They loved it the way we loved it. They cared about it the way we did. And thank God they did, because I just couldn't believe it. I knew we had something so special here. And I was disappointed. I was disappointed in our industry, disappointed in our country. And I'm just so happy this is going to be out there, because people do need to see this. And it's an important story. It's not just a football story. It's an important story about life in our country.
Absolutely. And that's really huge and everything. And, it's amazing. We got two major football stories that are real in itself. I know it's a different comparison with Algiers America and Coach Prime. You know what I'm saying? There's two different stories, but real stories, because you look at a city in New Orleans that has went through a lot of hell in itself, and a high school team trying to hold the community up. And some people might think, okay, Coach Prime, it's like, no, here's the thing about Deion Sanders. You have to look at it. It ain't just about Jackson State. About Deion, it's about Jackson, Mississippi in itself, of what they're going through. And that community in itself, my God, you talking about conditions. Whew. But at the same time, it's amazing. We got two great football stories. But how many? Hopefully, if things go successfully here, could we see? Because I know we seen y'all this year a bit doing some filming and stuff. Could this be another season of Algiers America possibly?
Oh, I'm sure hoping so. I mean, look, stories like this don't come around very often, and I never stopped filming. I filmed this whole next season. AJ's final season as the quarterback, right? AJ was in the first season, he is a sophomore and a junior. So we followed them again. And we don't have a pencil to paper yet, but I'm betting on it again like I did before because I believe in this story so much. And yes, I think Dion, his whole story is incredible as well. What I also love, and I think is what's so important to Bryce, is that these are stories about Black coaches. And so often with stories on high school football, it's a white coach with a Black team. And Bryce, it's a very important thing for him, right? Because he has 18 coaches working for him, and they are all Black.
And you don't see that in high school football in the state of Louisiana. You don't see that, right, Jared?
Yeah,
We don't hardly see that because we see Warren Easton might have about 10, 11, 12 on staff. St. Aug 11, 12 on staff. Karr got as much as Destrehan coaches or Hanville coaches. That's the most amazing thing. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. So with that being said, I know we got a couple parts in the show that a certain somebody that made an appearance on there and everything. You can tell the audience a little bit. I kept telling people before Algiers America came out, be on the lookout for a certain somebody that will make an appearance on it. It might be in the audio or the video, but Jackson, go ahead and spill the beans.
That's you, my man. And just as a final point to what I said before, it's very important to Bryce is that there are no Black coaches in the SEC, by the way, and very few in the NFL, and also very few general managers, right? So that is something he talks about that I hope, this series is a small step in that direction of getting people to just ask that question more often. But VK, you do appear in 2 episodes of the series coming up, not this week, but next week, and in episode 4. And it's the Warren Easton versus Karr game in episode 3, which is a regular season game at Tad Gormley. And there are 22,000 people in the stadium. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, what the hell? This is why I did this, okay? Because yes, there's the angle of gun violence, but damn it, it is so fun to highlight Louisiana football. And you got 22,000 people at a regular season football game. And it doesn't get better than Warren Easton versus Karr. And as VK says, man, because I've watched this episode so many times, you're like, and there is no love lost tonight. And it is your audio that takes us through the beginning of the game, and it is your audio through the whole game, man. And to I don't want to give away too much, but to the final play, because it comes down to the final seconds of the game. It's a huge game.
But
yeah, no, I can't say enough about that game and Coach Norm's speech before the game. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's incredible.
Wow. And then I was in the Westgate game as well myself, and my mentor Ken Trahan and Willie Brooks on the call. It was, they got all of us on that, and it was straight. But I got to tell you about that call Warren Easton game, and I tell anybody, probably one of my biggest and best moments that I ever had as a reporter and as a broadcaster, because that was the most amazing thing, in my opinion, I probably have ever seen since the Landry Walker Karr big weekend when they won the state championship together. Yeah. How in the world that 2 Orleans parish schools packed Tad Gormley 22,000 outside of a Brother Martin Jesuit, and outside of a Jesuit Holy Cross, outside of a Destrehan Hanville. That is the most amazing thing, because you have to think back in the days in the 80s and 90s, and Jared, you ought to know about this. Horse Mentors used to be packed.
Yes.
Tag on used to be packed.
Yes, it was.
Back in the days in the 80s and 90s. And things kind of fickled down a bit because the country towns like Hanville, Destrehan started to take over. And most of the Cat League schools, they still packed the place. But when Orleans Parish started to win consistently, guess what? The crowds are going across the water.
That's
Or
right.
the crowds are coming to the West Bank. So that was the most amazing thing of calling that game that night, but seeing that crowd. And I'm like, it just as a not just a journalist, but as an African American man in the city of New Orleans, seeing that was a proud moment because I'm like, I'm a graduate of St. Augustine High School. But at the same time, seeing that, it's amazing because my thing is this. I love my alma mater, but I want everybody to win. That's me because I represent the city of New Orleans and I represent the state of Louisiana. I want my state and my city to win.
I love that you say that, VK, because even in our title sequence of the series, when we show the archival of Bryce winning a state championship, the reporter says to him, "How big is this for the West Bank of New Orleans?" And Bryce says, "Man, this is big for the city of New Orleans." And that's how I felt as well that night with that game, man. I'll never forget it as well. We were in the locker rooms with both teams beforehand and at halftime. Just the intensity, the crowds. There's nothing like it, man. I mean, yeah. And I love that you referenced that 2016 experience when they both won, when Karr and Landry both won in the Dome. They always talk about that, right? As a real celebration for Algiers. There's so much damn talent coming out of that one little community. But I'm a super competitive person and I love rivalries. And I love the rivalry between Edna Karr and Easton. I really wish they had played each other that second year in the finals.
Well, we wish that too. But I give a lot of credit to the Westgate Tigers. I mean, they wanted it more than Edna Karr, and they wanted it more than Warren Easton.
Well,
and, that's a no fear. I think that's a rarity that a team like that plays with absolutely no fear.
I'll look. Only I might be a little biased, but I was with these guys for so long. And first of all, I'm sorry if we're giving away, the spoilers here for the series, right? We got to be careful.
That's
but
okay.
7 of the Karr players were injured in that game.
I remember that.
AJ, the quarterback, had tore this muscle in his hand, right? Between his thumbs. So the guy literally, this poor kid had to learn how to throw the ball again in the matter of months. And then you've got 2 wide receivers who weren't playing. And then Jawin tears his ACL in the game. And two of their offensive line starters were out as well. And they still almost won the game. So yes, Bryce and everyone else will be, sportsmanlike and tell you Westgate deserved to win that game. Yes, they did then go on to beat Easton, and they were a hell of a team. But man, that was hard to watch because if Karr was healthy, they would have won that game. I think Karen Crow is actually the better team.
And I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. And then looking at it, you're right. And we're kind of on the same page because me and Jared talked about had this discussion before.
Lucas got ejected.
Lucas got ejected.
Yes,
so and I told Jared, I was like, with AJ, I said, Jared, there's one weapon left. It's almost like I covered a basketball game in the Simmons Jackson, and it was I believe it was Patterson and Port Allen. And the game went to 3 overtimes. And basically the fouls were so tight in the game. Out of their top 8 players for Patterson, their top 6 fouled out. So they had to hold the ball. So I was telling him it's almost a similar situation with what happened with Karr against Westgate is the fact I'm like, AJ don't have bullets in the chamber like talking about it. He's got 1 bullet left. And it's something else when you have inexperience in there that hasn't played. The last time I seen something like that, 1993, St. Augustine going against West Monroe, the beginning of the West Monroe dynasty. St. Aug took them to overtime and lost 35-34. But St. Aug had 8 starters hurt. And it's the fact if they would have been healthy, it might have been a difference. But still,
that's what Bryce doesn't talk about because he's that great of a guy. But I saw it, and it was really hard, and they were missing a lot of players, and even the ones that were starting some of them were hurt as well.
Mm.
And yes, Jalen Lucas, who's doing a hell of a job at Indiana right now. When you
Mhm.
lose that guy, and you've already lost Jawin as well, and you've lost your number 2 wide receiver, and your quarterback's playing with a bum arm. I mean, come on, guys. It was hard to watch. It was really hard because I knew how bad they wanted it that year. And, you know, we've been with them, like I said, from right after Karen Crow. I mean, it was pretty devastating.
Go ahead, Jared. Go ahead, pick it up.
So, before we get, when will episode 3? Those who already saw episodes 1.
Yeah, I mean, and shit, I hope we didn't give away all the other episodes just now in this talk, you know. But so episode 3 comes out next Wednesday. So what is that?
It's April the
26th.
26.
26 is episode 3. Then we got May 3rd is episode 4, and then May 10th is episode 5. And I got to tell you guys, I honestly think every episode it just gets better and better. And that's partly because the longer I was with all of them, the more they trusted me, the more access I was given, the more comfortable they got. And man, those final 2 episodes, I just can't wait for the whole country, the whole world to see them.
I can't wait either. VK, as you know, Jackson doesn't know, I am a 10-year-old. So
Get out of here.
Yes. And for the Westgate game, that there is a visual of me sitting next to his mama because there were the cameras there that whole game. So I'm hoping I'll be on that documentary also.
You probably will, man. We kept a camera on AJ's family at every game. Because you know we're very, you know, we care a lot for his whole family, all of them, man. I love AJ's family, Mike and Ashanti, wonderful people, and damn it, we sure wanted it for them there.
Definitely.
And every time I watch the Westgate game, even though I've watched it 100 times now, I still think that they might pull it off.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone, watch Algiers America Hulu. You will love this series. I guarantee it. I've seen episodes 1 and 2 already, and I love it. And with episode 3, Jackson Fager, director of Algiers America, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate your support, man. Seriously, it means a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And also tune in and watch myself episode 3 next week. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to advertise it. Trust me, you're gonna love it.
You're gonna recognize my voice.
Yeah, you go. I'm making my national debut, and all I know, y'all gonna recognize how much hard work I put in this thing. And I can't wait till hopefully Algiers America gets an extended season, because they'll probably see me again for saying, "Oh, get in the car," and see how bad that day was anyway. So
yeah,
I enjoyed the broadcast. But it was just so one-sided. I was like, "Oh,
that was a bummer of a game, man. That was a bummer of a game.
Yes,
really.
Oh man,
talk about a packed stadium. There were like apparently 10,000 people outside the stadium who decided not to come in because they were already winning 30-0 after the first quarter.
Yes, indeed.
Well, good, Mr. Jackson. Thank you so much. We appreciate the time, and we'll definitely have you on hopefully again. But we wish you the best, and we hopefully for extended season. But we're gonna see you on the field once again soon.
Hell yeah, guys! I'm never gonna be able to take myself away from that field forever.
Thank you, sir.
Most
Appreciate
definitely.
it.
Jackson, thank you.
See you.
That is Jackson Fager, and we're gonna bring in our good friend George Peppers. George, are you there?
I'm good. What's up, fellas?
What's
GP
up?
in the house.
To the show. Where you been?
Man, dude, doing something some lazy people don't do, work. You know, I'm not saying present company, because all three of us, you know, we grind, we do what we do, and we make the hustle happen. But it's good to be back with y'all on the eve of the greatest 3 days in sports, the NFL draft next week. but
That's right.
you've got the playoffs to keep us occupied. Just so you know, Memphis has just leveled up the series against the Lakers. They won tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee is
Wow.
destroying Miami minus Giannis. They were up 23 last I looked. But I'm actually following the Stanley Cup playoffs because my team is in it, the New York Islanders, and right now we're in overtime at Carolina trying to level that series. It's 3-3. Carolina won game one, 2-1. So I'm actually, while I was listening to the interview with Jackson, very good interview. And I don't have Hulu, so I'm gonna have to find a way to pirate it or something to watch this documentary. So it seems like it's a must watch, Jared. I'm guessing.
It's a must watch, man. It's a must watch because I'm gonna say this. You know, Algiers, there's murder in Algiers, there's crime, and kids most of them live in Algiers and trouble parts of Algiers. So
Yep.
coaching staff will do whatever they can to try to keep these guys trouble. And one in particular I did not know about was Aaron Anderson. I've talked to Aaron Anderson before, and
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna see him getting a haircut in the barbershop, and I go to that barbershop. And I talked to him in the barbershop, and he was all smiles, shaking hands with everybody. But you know that Aaron Anderson, two of his best friends were killed. One killed where he lives. And they mentioned on the, like we are trying to keep him out of trouble. And to me, for Bryce to say that shows some type of compassion and care that he had these kids. He said it on the show that kids, not the players, meaning the kids is a human being, individual.
Exactly.
So
Right.
yeah, man, I watched episode 1 and 2, and they were great. They were great. And
Jared, I wanted to ask
it's
you this right
hard.
quick.
See, like I am engaged. Okay.
What was it? The one of the players that was killed was Kieran Ross.
They didn't say anything about Kieran Ross, but there's another player that went for his senior year to play, and he stopped and got pregnant, and he was going by a gun, and while buying that gun down and killed. I cannot remember his name, but it's on episode 2.
Okay, because I know
His
they
number
probably
was 31.
31. Okay, they're probably gonna mention about Kieran Ross. He was one of the players that was killed and everything. And what was the unbelievable thing about how Kieran Ross was? I think at the time he was in the car or something like that, and he was shot up. And the thing about that was one of the last few interviews that he actually had, and it was a post-game interview after the Carver game. Myself and Jamal Greenberry interviewed him because he had a really good game against Carver in the quarterfinals, and it's unbelievable. A couple weeks later, that I get a call from Lenny Van Gelder from Crest City Sports, and he asked me about the video itself for the interview we did, and I said, "What happened?" I was like, "Well, Kieran Ross got shot and killed," and I was like, "Oh my Lord!" I said, "You got to be kidding me." So, with that being said, I'm, in my heart, I'm kind of connected a bit to Edna Karr because of the fact of me covering those
Correct.
certain players and being there and talking with those kids. It's a unbelievable and hurting feeling, especially feeling for those moms, and it's just the fact that it's unbelievable that the community comes together and everything. And now they do a certain little award that they do named after Tillette George, and they're doing
Mm-hmm.
a little something in the name in the name for Kieran Ross as well. But it's a lot that they go through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Andrew Walker went through the similar thing
Same
as
stuff.
well with players getting killed in itself. Algiers has been through a lot of tragedy and stuff. I still didn't forget the time, and he wasn't shot and killed, but his death really hit upon Algiers in itself. That's Tyrone Duplessis.
Oh
When
man, one of
he
my bad.
passed,
Oh man.
when I found out about that, and at the time I was WGSO, and I was about to do Prep Plus that night, and I think it was the day before, and I found out about that. And me and Derek Lamont have a really Skip Lamont, we really have a good relationship with each other. And I said off top, I said we need to have him on that Friday night to talk about his life and just a tribute. I asked him, I said, you don't have to, but he said, I want to. I was like, okay. And it was an unbelievable interview. He was emotional a little bit about it, but it was amazing that we said a lot of great stories about him. And man, it really hit home, when he passed away too. Cause I'm like, man, we just talked about all his great runs and all this stuff he was doing. He was a great all around person. And for him, for his health to just a decline like that. And it's like, wow. But regardless of the fact that this whole Algiers community has a lot of successful stories, but also stories of sorrow that people have to overcome.
George Peppers.
It is easy to root for a community like Algiers, and as like VK said, I mean, I am also a seasoned veteran of covering prep sports. He and I have done many a show together. Prep Plus now has it out, and we've done games together. We've seen a lot, we've covered a lot, and you mentioned Tyrone Duplessis, and that's one of the best players I think I've ever seen come out of Orleans. That's how good I thought he was. He was that dude at Walker before it became Landry Walker.
Oh, Perry
Before they
Walker. Yeah, oh,
merged,
Perry Walker.
he he was Perry Walker before LB Landry got in and then got out or whatnot. But Tyrone Duplessis was special in every way. And his interviews, man, you couldn't find a more humbler
Yeah.
kid than that
Yes.
kid. I mean, he was a very humble dude, and for him to pass the way he did, to fall in ill health and then wind up passing away. Horrible tragedy. I mean, but we talk generalizing it to Algiers now, and the fact that we've had players get killed, senseless violence, people, senseless violence. There's no need for it. Why? Why are we engaging in this? Why? I mean, there's many. I mean, I don't want to go geopolitical, and I'm not trying to take it there. But the fact that young kids, to let George 2 weeks after he graduates college gets killed, come on, man. I mean, there's, Kieran Rouse gets killed. I mean, and there's many more. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some, but you know,
And then
you,
you talk about certain you talk about that you talk about certain athletes who just kind of slipped under the cracks, and you just hope that they get themselves together. I'm not gonna say one of the players' names that really kind of been slipping under the cracks and then really could have been something. And he was a former Edna Karr player that got himself caught up a bit, but I hope he's getting himself together. And there was a couple of them. You know what I'm saying? One of them, could have been an absolute great athlete, but we don't know what he's doing now. And it's almost a fact sometimes, you know, sometimes you got to make sure you get your head together. Sometimes you got to, be cognizant of what you're doing. So, you just hope that they do well. But,
um,
but people go through a lot. You know what I'm saying? You got the senseless violence, and then you got the people that gets lost in society. You know.
I'm gonna say this. Man. The killings in New Orleans area is just ridiculous. It's tragic. It's too many. For very, very,
Right.
exactly.
and we just needed to stop. There's a scene in episode 2 where the cameras are with 3 of the car players, and gunshots just start.
Mm.
And it just shows you that this can be anywhere, but
At any time.
anytime. What is it that we can do to stop this? What is it that we can do to stop this? To stop two innocent good people to gun violence for no reason. No reason.
I think one of the things we could look at, and being completely objective here, is structure. If the kid is not, if he surrounds himself with people that don't care, with kids that don't care, that have no direction. If you don't have direction, you are going to be lost in the weeds. It's simple. When you are raised in a strong family structure, that is the parents incumbent on the parents to instill discipline and everything in the young man or young woman, regardless. That's the first thing that needs to happen. And we're talking about athletes slipping through the cracks. Covered one last year that I know for a fact he's slipping through. He's got immense talent at my alma mater. He's not there now. He's about to graduate. But that young man, he's around the wrong people. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's around the wrong people. And I told one of my best friends who works at John Eric, and I told him, I said, man, be on him like white to rice. Be on him. Get him away from that. Get him away from that garbage. And put something in his head. You know, before a slug goes in there. And then we're talking about a whole different onset of circumstance, which is not good. And I think y'all could figure out who I'm talking about. I don't want to mention his name on air, and I'm not going to. But no, but I think y'all they both know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
So we'll leave it. We'll leave it at that. And please, for those that are commenting, refrain from trying to guess because I'm not going to tell you. Simple as that. But I want to know one thing, Jared, because I'm going to ask you and straight away. Next week, what is it? When did it? They said episode 3 was on the 26th, next Wednesday,
That's
right?
correct.
And you, I think, are going to be on. Are they catching a good side, sir, or what?
BK's gonna be on. I won't be on episode 3. I'll be
Oh,
on
okay.
episode 4, hopefully.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, okay. Well, I'm just making sure about episode 4. I want to know if they got your good side. Is what I want to know. But you're gonna have to wait and see, right? Stay tuned.
I think it was this side, and this is really not my good side. It's this side.
Oh Lord, here we go. Here we go with the fashionista, BK. But next week, go ahead.
And Ty G Hill, I'm not trying to give away the whole, documentary series, but Ty G Hill, to me, who's at LSU now, defensive tackle, is so smart.
Mm-hmm.
He said this. He said, I have to look out of who I'm hanging around with, or who's trying to circle, because I gotta know who are you around, who's your family, who you beef with. I gotta know all this stuff. So I'm even. When school's done and we done with practice, I'm trying to get home. And there's a lot of them with that mentality. Just get home, not to get caught up in the streets. Ivy Hill has a brother that is in jail for armed robbery, who should be out of jail now. When it took place, he had 1 year. He's out of jail now. Just goes to show you, man, the struggle of some of these kids that go through, and that we don't know because we just playing.
And you make a good point. And to me, and I just, and the reason why I was coming from somewhere, I was coming from a men's meeting that me and the brothers I have at my church that I attend in New Orleans, that we have once a month. And tonight it was very critical. And we had something on mental health. It was a really, really great discussion because one of the people who was the guest was a brother that grew up in my old church. And now he's a counselor, a mental health counselor. And it was unbelievable how we talked about the problems in this society. And especially with how we need to reach the children, especially the generation of children now. And the fact of the matter is, I think, and the biggest thing they said was a great point. the men has failed. The men has to really step up, and it's not too late to help them. A lot of men need to really step up, and not just the fact of giving them, not just the fact of like just don't talk down. I mean, relate to them, love on them, give them encouragement, show
Mm-hmm.
them the right way, show them there is light at the end of the tunnel, show them that there's a reward if you do what you need to do and do the right thing, that you ain't got to worry about doing time in jail. You ain't got to worry about doing this, doing that. You ain't got to worry about having kids early. They need the guidance from men, and then not just that. If they need some counseling deep down mentally, go bring them to a counselor. There's nothing wrong with that. They need to go ahead and let their feelings out. And that's where men have to really step up. And we're not talking about black men in general, but all men. We really need to reach these kids. We need to love on them. And that's the biggest thing right now. Because I'm telling you now, the biggest thing that is going to happen sooner or later, and we're starting to see it a little bit, is vigilante justice. And that's starting to happen. Because of the fact of the matter is, there are some, and I'm not going to put that all on law enforcement. It's a combination of law enforcement, combination of laws, and combination of the criminals. If something is not stopped, something is not done, guess what? Some people are going to take it to the extreme, to the next level, and saying, you know what? You can't get this done. You can't fix this. I'm going to fix this myself. And that's what society is going to right now. It's going to the dogs. So as men, we have to step up and reach these kids, because I don't think it's too late. We just got to. We are the last of a dying breed that we have to really help these kids and help and try to save them before they make a critical mistake that they're going to regret for the rest of their life.
George, I give you the last word before we move on.
Okay. Two things. One, I think I'm going to state the obvious with this first one. I think we need to put God back in schools. We need to espouse religion and put God back in schools. I think there's entities that are denying these kids, spiritual growth, to grow into the word and read the word. It should be mandated. When we came up, the three of us, I'm the elder statesman of the three, giving away ages, but we did, we had prayers in schools. We had the Pledge of Allegiance. You don't see that now. And why? That's a question I don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to happen. It needs to
I have
happen.
the answer because the government made that thing kind of law for certain religious things to go on in public places, and they're using that now to the fullest. I thank God
Yes, they
I
are.
thank God that some schools, regardless of the event, they still let them pray. You know what I'm saying? But we know some people, like, here's a great example, like what Deion Sanders is doing in Colorado, and some people in a certain group doesn't like what he's doing, dealing with God and everything. And I'm like, Lord have mercy. And you just know that was coming because of what the government implemented. And we're not gonna say nothing about politics on the show. This is not that type of show.
No.
But plain and simple, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna move on. There's a reason why I don't trust no government in this world. Period.
I'm drafting you to run for governor, sir. We need you. I need you to run. No, but no.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
But the
I didn't
second,
see. I didn't see. Let me tell you something. I would be almost like between John Kennedy and Fred Hampton. I have a 4-year.
yes,
I
you're
have a
right.
4-year-old. I am not about to get killed.
All right, you're right. But the second thing I mentioned about religion being placed back in schools. I think that would help structurally. The second thing, why don't we teach these kids about what the parameters of the perils of gun violence is? Why don't we teach them? Why are teachers not enforcing, or parents really? It starts at the home. Why aren't parents saying, look, you hang with this dude, they're going to empty a clip on you? Dude, where I work, they got 18, 19-year-old kids. Kids. They're not men, they're kids. And, there was one case that was highly publicized that I deal with this guy every day. The Oakwood shooting.
Mm.
The two dudes that shot that man outside of Oakwood
Wow.
Mall, I think was last year.
Yeah.
I know them very well, and I deal with them, and I tell them, look, you threw your life away behind a gun. That's how stupid you are. You are complete, and I said it more graphically than what I'm not going to say it now, but you're a complete fool. You pissed your life away behind a freaking piece. Behind a piece. What sense? And how tough do you really think you are? Because I tell you, I tell everybody that thinks they're bad, they're bad off with a gun. Dude, put that thing down and let's go hands on. You ain't about that life. You ain't about. I tell every inmate that. Every inmate. And you talk about law enforcement, Vic, and there are bad seeds in law enforcement, but I think the preponderance of the majority of them do the right thing.
I agree.
But it's a sad statement that in 2023 we're talking about gun violence, and look at look, not to be political, but look at the shootings we've had recently. Another couple in Dadeville, Alabama, Louisville, two times in the last couple of weeks. When does it stop, y'all? When does it freaking stop? I mean, it's to the point where the three of us look. I've got a high risk job. I mean, where I work, I could get killed any day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the three of us, BK, you were working at TH Harris. Now you're not there. I mean, for different circumstances. Darren, your job. I mean, accidents happen. You drive a
Yeah.
lot. Anything can happen. So, but going centering it back to what this topic is about, and it's depressing. It really is depressing. Why even watch the news? Oh wow, another shooting. You're almost immune to it, and especially in my field, it's like,
That's what Bryce said.
damn,
It's like in New Orleans, we're just numb.
And and
exactly.
the guest speaker we had tonight at the meeting said he don't watch the news no more because it felt like it's desensitizing you when you watch the
Of
news.
course.
That's
But
crazy.
let's move on, y'all.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
move
that's
on.
absolutely. But it's great that we have this upfront discussion because the
Supposed to.
thing is you have to understand. Yeah, we're previewing, and please go watch Algiers America. Please watch it. It's really good. It's beyond football, and people need to
Definitely.
see stuff like this. And it's good that we have this upfront discussion. You know what I'm saying? That's something we'll have a lot more of an open discussion later on down the line after the seasons are over. But at the same time, it's
Hmm.
good that we discuss things up front because there's so many storylines to Algiers America. I can't wait to see it myself. And I believe in my heart of hearts, if it's everything and what it is, especially what Jackson Fager has done, I smell awards for this show. I smell second
SB.
season and
SB.
awards for this show.
SB.
Yes, yes.
You're gonna get an SB
Not
award, and
not not
maybe
just
they,
not
if
just an
they,
ESPY, an Emmy or Oscar, one of the two, because that's gonna be in the documentary category.
All right.
hmm
All right, guys. Let's
So
move
let's
on.
move on. Let's
Let's
move
move
let's
on.
move
on.
on.
I mean, we haven't. First round has gotten
Hmm.
pretty much played two games after tonight. Minnesota and Denver are playing right now. We said who we picked to get to the finals. So we'll let VJ Jones. Who are your picks to get?
Man, in the Eastern Conference, man, it's I tell you one thing. Hopefully, the Giannis Antetokounmpo will stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? I hope he stays healthy, and I think he will. You know what I'm saying? They're being taking precautions, but I think not just with Giannis, but the depth of the Milwaukee Bucks. They're gonna get back. They're gonna get back to the finals. It's gonna come down to them and the Celtics in these kind of finals. Maybe the Sixers, maybe, but it just depends. But I think this is Milwaukee's year to get to the finals. They're coming from the Eastern Conference. Western Conference, it's so wide open. So wide open. I'm gonna go. Man. it's hard for me to trust these young teams. But I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say the Denver Nuggets will go to the finals. It'll be Denver.
That a way to go.
And,
Way to go out there
and
with the 1 seed, sir.
I'm gonna go with Denver and the Bucks. I'm going with Denver for a reason, because here's the thing about Denver. Regardless of the fact that they're one and they struggled a bit, the Denver Nuggets has a lot of experience in the postseason, and I think it's going to
They
kick
do.
in some way somehow. And especially, we know what Jokic can do, but if Jamal Murray can get back to what he was, and he's starting to get there. If he started to get back to what he was a couple years ago, Denver's going to the finals. So I think it's going to be the Denver Nuggets. And don't be surprised, it could be Denver and the Lakers in the conference finals, but we will see going forward.
All right.
Hmm.
Go ahead, George.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. As a New York Knicks fan, I could be biased right now and tell you that Tom Thibodeau is going to put my team into the finals. But realistically, I'd be delighted if they win one series and compete in the second round. I don't think they're ready to make that kind of run. Um, in that vein, though, it's easy to pick the Milwaukee Bucks. And look, being Greek, Giannis is Greek. I have a little prejudice towards that. Well, not prejudice, bias towards that because he's Greek and I am as well. So I'm going to naturally root that way. But objectively speaking, which is what we do, why in the world are we not picking the Philadelphia 76ers to get out? Have y'all seen what they've done the first 2 games? They played about as horribly as you could in game 2, and they woke up and they ransacked the Brooklyn Nets. Look, I love what Jacque Vaughn has done, but that is a colossal mismatch. The Nets aren't winning a game in this series. Philly's going to bloom the dog doo out of them. I'm going to pick the Philadelphia, and I'm not a buyer in the Celtics because they've got to buy first round. I mean, they got the Hawks. I mean, dude, I think you could put Shaw out there against Atlanta and they could beat them. So, and whatnot. I'm throwing a little shade, but no, I'm going to pick the Philadelphia 76ers to get out of the East. And in the West, BK, I can't believe you didn't pick this team. I cannot believe you didn't pick them because I was on the Lakers because I think I called it that they would knock out Memphis. And yes, they lost tonight. But watching these series, Sacramento is showing me a little something, boys. Those dudes against the Golden State Warriors and all that championship pedigree, all that championship experience, and the Kings have taken 2 of their best punches and they've thrown it back. They're 2-zip going to Chase Arena for game 3. And oh, by the way, Draymond Green's not playing in game
We'll
3.
get to that.
So, so we will. But I'm going to take a flyer. I'm going to go with the Kings and the Sixers. And look, I get the Sixers and James Harden is not that dude in the playoffs, but they're showing you they don't. I mean, he went off in game 1 and he was quiet as a church mouse in game 2. But Philly Sacramento makes the finals, and your champions for the first time since 1983, the Philadelphia 76ers win the NBA title. But you know what? Kudos to Mike Brown, who just got named Coach of the Year today by the writers. So he won Coach of the Year, and Sacramento is legit. They are for real, and they're going to the finals.
And that's well deserved for Mike Brown. Well deserved for him to get Coach of the Year. I'm not surprised with the Sixers pick. That's a nice pick there, George. I'm surprised with the Kings going to the finals. It did go probably one of the best coaching jobs I will probably ever see in the NBA for a team that does not have any experience in postseason for them to get to the finals in 1 year.
It sure ain't bothered them in the first 2 games.
I'm like this. I'm impressed of what I'm not surprised when I'm very impressed with what Sacramento is doing. I mean, they're showing that they have some fight in them. And like I said, the biggest thing I said a couple weeks ago, I would like to see one of these young teams get on their horse and find some heart, some killing instinct, and show that they're here. And I think Sacramento's done that.
My turn. The East.
All right.
Giannis will be back probably in game 3. He didn't play tonight and they won. You got to remember, guys, they didn't have Chris Miller this year. It's a major key. They They got them this time. Andrew Holiday and Giannis, and nobody's beating them in the East. Not even the Boston Celtics. And if they meet up in the conference finals, it's not even going. They went 7 games without last year. Ain't gonna happen this time. Maybe 6, but I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the East. As far as the West, wide open. Look, Denver looks good. Memphis bounced back and beat the Lakers without John Morant, which you know they can play well without last year. They won 20 games without John Morant. But I think this team is starting to figure themselves out at the right time. And after last night, I think you're going to see a thirsty, hungry Phoenix Suns team ranked. Chris Paul and DeAndre in the center. You really can't double team nobody. I think we'll find this chemistry. I think it started last night, and I got the Phoenix Suns getting to the finals to take on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well, it's not surprising that you're going to go with KD, and
Why you say that?
because I know you think KD's a great talented player, which he is. He's the man. You know what I'm saying?
He wasn't going with Brooklyn.
But here's like Phoenix. They could get there. The only thing about them, Phoenix lost a lot of depth, and the thing is, they're gonna have to lean more than anything else on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, because DeAndre Ayton, we don't know what kind of player we're gonna get. He's been playing straight, but we don't know what kind of player he's gonna get.
Last night.
Yeah, he did. But we don't. But can he do it two games in a row? We have not seen that from Ayton. So that's the thing. I know, but that's the thing. He has to. And then Chris Paul, we're right now seeing the ghost of him because he's not the same. He's aged up a bit.
He's not the same, but they've got him playing off the ball now. You know,
exactly.
All the time now. They got him playing off the ball. Do you see Devin Booker bring the ball up more now than anything because they get him off the ball.
You're right, but here's the thing. Here's the matchup that is going to give Phoenix a lot of trouble if they face one another. If Denver wind up facing Phoenix, Phoenix is in a lot of trouble because Denver not just has experience, Denver has depth. And the biggest thing is, it ain't just the fact if Jokic get on. If Murray gets on and Porter gets on, Phoenix is in trouble. Because the thing is, I think Jokic is going to kill Ayton. I really think so. So I'm just saying, Phoenix has a chance to get there, but I think Denver is going to give them a lot of trouble.
Who on Denver can guard Kevin Durant or Devin Booker?
Can I answer that?
Yeah,
no one. They ain't a dude on that Nuggets roster that could face up and defend either one of those two. But the thing with the Suns, Jared, that I will caution you, a healthy Clippers team. Remember, PG3 is a little nicked up. PG-13, if they get him back, and they'll get him back in this series.
No,
I think the Clippers.
They said he's not coming back till series to round 2 if they win.
Oh, really? So he's out.
He's out.
Okay, that changes the theology then. Okay. That means Phoenix is going to probably move on in 6. Clippers will be gallant, but the Suns will move on.
Well, I'm going to say this. Don't underestimate the Clippers, because I'm telling you, Clippers didn't steal game 1 for nothing. Kawhi has been playing very, very well. And all I'm going to say and Russell too. All I'm going to tell you is this. If the Clippers take game 3, this series going to 7. This series is going to 7 because the Clippers,
they better win both games at home.
Exactly, but they ain't just winning both. I think if the Clippers win game 3, this is going 7 because the Clippers is not gonna lay down. This is gonna be a hell of a series. Phoenix is gonna have to earn their lunch to get to the second round. So it'd be different if both PG and Kawhi's hurt, but Kawhi is starting to play like he played in Toronto. So that is scary.
Jared, I have an itch to scratch, and I'm about to scratch it. VK, if the Suns and Nuggets do dance in the second round, what are we betting?
Ooh.
What are we
Well,
betting,
BK
sir?
already
well,
owe me drinks.
I heard it.
But
I,
come
I,
on, Chicken Little.
oh, now you won't put up bets, man. This is crazy.
Y'all,
Why not,
it's
dude?
y'all too.
Exactly.
See, Jared,
But I don't believe the Nuggets beat the. I don't believe the Nuggets beat the Suns. I just don't. I
What's
think
up,
Jokic
Vegas?
is the only difference maker on that team. Jamal Murray don't scare you.
I think Jamal.
He don't
I
scare
think
me.
Jamal Murray will scare you because you forgot what happened a couple years ago when they got to the Western Conference Finals. Don't forget. Don't forget. That's all I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell you.
I'm not.
Because like
I'm not. But
because you seem like, oh, it don't scare me. You better think
no,
about a couple years ago. If that fool, if
when
that,
they gave the Lakers, yeah, when you talk about COVID year, when they gave the Lakers 6 games, yeah, they went 6 to LA in the bubble.
of course,
Yeah, I get that.
and it averaged over 25. So
Hmm.
like I said, don't
Let's
underestimate it
see.
because, like I said, Jamal is starting to get back to his grind, and
And you talking
that's
bad
a
up,
big sign for Denver. That's a big sign.
and you talking bad about DeAndre Ayton. Look, who on the inside for the Nuggets can body him up, like literally body him up. Who on the inside could? Oh, we losing on. All right,
Okay,
there
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
But
man,
who can body up DeAndre Ayton on the inside? Who do the Nuggets have that you can maybe hack at him or
man,
something? But Ayton doesn't
man,
have to be that dude.
look, man. Let me tell you something, bro.
Thank
Jokic,
you, man.
Jokic, Jokic is gonna show him off. I'm telling you, Aiton is not the same player from a couple years ago. He's coming around a bit, but he's not the same player a couple years ago that got Phoenix to the finals. This is not the same DeAndre Ayton. If he steps up and has a huge series, yeah, they'll get by Denver. Yeah, they'll get to the finals. I will definitely admit that. But DeAndre's got to be consistent. That's my biggest concern. If he's consistent, that adds on to what Phoenix has.
To finish my point about Sacramento, they got snipers, and that's what Golden State has not seen. A team that could shoot the ball as good as they can.
Let me stop you right
There's.
quick. Let me stop you,
Go
Jordan,
ahead.
right quick. Answer this question.
Oh,
Does this Kings team remind you of the Warriors?
yep. Absolutely. That's what I
Yes,
see. I
yes.
see the birthright. I see the birthing of a potential, run of championships. I mean, and look, I get the maturation level may not be where it needs to be. Some people are going to question it, but they eyeballed Golden State in games 1 and 2 at home, and you're supposed to protect the home court, right?
Right.
So, and they did, but Golden State threw some wallops at them. They threw some big punches at them in both those games, and the
And this
King responded.
and this is a it's and they got a good big three in Sacramento that is coming up. And that's Sabonis, Malik
Fox.
Monk, and Fox. And I'm telling you, the Kentucky connection and the son of a former Blazer. Whoo! When I say that is a deadly combination, it is deadly. If Sacramento makes a run to the finals, all I'm gonna say about the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, y'all better up your game. You better up your game. You guys are having the chance to take over the West, but now somebody then just jumped you. So now
Hmm.
you're gonna have to get it together now. Because those were the teams I said: Denver, the Pels, the Grizzlies, and now you got the Kings that could leapfrog possibly everybody.
All right, let's move on. We got Draymond Green. Draymond is suspended for game
Okay. Mhm.
stomping. Sabonis. Um, Draymond says his leg was grabbed, which it was, and Draymond said trying to get free, and they had to come down somewhere, and it just happened to come down on somebody saying that he did this stuff on purpose. But I looked at it 1,000 times. Yeah, Sabonis grabs him. Yeah, it looks like Draymond got free, but it looks like Draymond did come down on him intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the playoffs. You got to have cooler heads. I understand that, and you saying they keep grabbing your leg, you get frustrated. I get it. But when your team needs you and you're really the leader of the team, you have to have a cooler head. VK.
Well, I discussed this and I talked about this, and I'm gonna make a little kind of a joke about this. Why in the world it had to take over 41 years to finally get somebody ejected and freaking kicked out for stepping on a player? And you know what I'm talking about, especially you Duke fans. You know damn well Kentucky and Duke, where what happened with Christian Laettner when he stepped on Dale Brown after the freaking play. Now, don't get me wrong, Christian Laettner, and one of the people I always say one of the best college basketball players ever to play.
Yeah, that's about it.
I tell you, he had a perfect game and a great game, but should have been ejected because he stepped on a player. Now he's got to take a person like Draymond Green to get him kicked out because he stumped the player. Like, it didn't take that long.
He only got suspended because he said
his reputation.
That's right.
And to me, bro, I'm tired of this reputation. Like, it's obvious why the fact of the suspension because the unnecessariness of stomping him. My thing is, like, he's a throwback. He's a true throwback to what the old players are. He's aggressive, and sometimes he takes a little too far. Basically, and he's a great defensive player. He's a better skill player than the biggest comparison to him is Bill Laimbeer. He's the new generation Bill Laimbeer because of the fact of how aggressive he is, how much that he brings intensity, and sometimes he'll go maybe a little too far, and he has to use that aggressiveness to stay in the league. You have to think about it. Draymond is only 6'5" and a half, 6'6". And at Michigan State, he was a big guy, big fat guy. He lost all that weight his senior year and was cut. So it was the fact that, dude, I had to sacrifice all this. And it's amazing. I don't know if he did. He was undrafted, right? Or he was drafted late in the round. One of the two. But second round. So he was second round pick, Golden State. It's amazing that he still made the team and everything else. But you see his intensity on the floor and everything. That's what Golden State needed. You needed an enforcer. You needed somebody that has intensity, that brings it to the floor to show that your team is not soft. So for that, I understand why Draymond is the player that he is. But I think his time is close to being running out at Golden State. I think he done gave all his great services for the Warriors and stuff. And, he's really helped them win championships. But now I think the league is catching up with him because of some of the antics that he has done. But at the same time, come on. It took that long to figure all that out. But still, it's part of the game. But it is what it is. He's going to serve his time, serve his punishment. And sooner or later, he will not be a Golden State Warrior after the season.
George Peppers.
I mean, for me, it's a warranted suspension. I saw the tape of what happened with Domantas Sabonis, and look, Draymond Green. I think you make a little bit of a comparison that is a little off center. I was gonna go more in the lines of Dennis Rodman, because he's such the antagonist.
That's a good analogy. Go ahead.
That dude will get under your skin and do the stuff. But as far as the play the other night, yes, Sonis didn't make a reach at him. But Jared, you said it perfectly. It's the playoffs. You cannot let the littlest thing get to you. You got to have your cooler heads prevail. Your team is in a world of hurt. Now they're in even bigger hurt because they're down two going home. But guess what? Draymond ain't suiting up in game three. And you can have all the snipers you want, but the Kings can match your snipers and actually can do some things inside as well. They have players on the inside that can do some damage too. Um, but then for me, I think it was a warranted suspension. It sucks because it takes away a little bit from the theater of game three. Are the champions' resolves going to show up? But now with the talk is, oh, Draymond Green did this. Draymond is a screw up. Is this the end of him? And if it is, I mean, a team in New Orleans that could use a dude like him. Just throwing it out there. You could use an enforcer.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, to be honest with you. As a Pelicans fan, I would take it. Real talk. I would take Draymond. It ain't just the fact
of LeBron, bro.
Huh?
Draymond
You think he's going to LA? Yeah,
yeah.
but what are the Lakers? But what are the Lakers gonna give Golden State of equal value? That's the problem you're running into because remember they done exhausted a lot of their draft capital. So so what are they gonna give Golden State unless you facilitate a third team in the deal to where maybe somebody flips to assets to the Lakers and the Lakers flip those to Golden State. I don't see that happening unless Draymond X to get balled out. I don't think so.
Here's the perfect situation for the Pels. If there's a chance for them to win, and this ain't no old boy. This could be a happening here. If the Pels can go all out, they're gonna try to win a championship. This is the move you make. Okay. And Jared brought this point up last week. Put a trade for Zion for Dame Lillard. That's for one. See what you could do in your free agency to try to get Draymond Green. And if you do well in the draft, especially if you wind up getting in the lottery, you get number one and you get Big Vic. Let's freaking go. Pels trying to get this dang on title. We got Dame, we got Big Vic, and we got Draymond. Let's freaking go, man. Now we got a team to go win a championship. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm a king of wishful thinking. I don't care. I'm like this. I'm a guy that wants to win it all. If you're going to win it all, roll the dice. That's what Golden State done over the years. They rolled the freaking dice, and they got 4 damn titles. New Orleans Pelicans, Gail Benson, please hear me out and make those demands and trade. Talk to David Griffin. You and David Griffin need to do this. If you want this city to have another world championship like the Saints, make these moves, please. Because I'm telling you now, if you do this, the Pels, in my opinion, will guarantee to go to the finals next season if they make these moves.
They'll never move Zion Williamson. Stop the dreaming. It's not happening.
No. George,
it's not happening.
George, I
get next year. No.
Huh?
No, because the extension kicks in. No, the extension kicks in, guys. It's 5 years, 235, correct? That's the money that you're giving him.
I understand. I understand
that. Do the trade with, if he was a trade, is somebody who's getting 215 million maybe, and that's Dame.
Exactly.
That's Dame.
But I thought,
and that's Dame Lillard. You heard what he said? That's Dame Lillard, George.
I get it, but I wouldn't move Zion. Maybe I'm in the minority,
no, damn that. Here's my thing. I feel what you're saying. I know we want to see what's best for Zion, but damn that, I want a title. We got somebody that's been in the wings and is owed a shot, and that's Dame Lillard. He's owed a shot.
Whatever.
What you mean, whatever? Dame Lillard has never had a great supporting cast ever in Portland. He
Okay,
deserves that shot.
the floor is mine for a second.
Go ahead.
Dame Lillard is a great player. There is no doubt. And he deserves to be on a contender. He's been on a pretender for the last few years. That man needs to be on a contender. I'd rather Dame play off ball in New York with Jalen Brunson, but that's just me. I mean, I'm being funny.
Okay.
But all jokes
No,
aside,
it's nice though. I like that.
this is healthy debate. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what we do. Let me explain a little something. So we're talking about titles and windows and everything else. The window's about to be wide open. CJ McCollum played with a torn labrum in his shoulder and a sprained thumb over the last 3 months. Torn labrum, that in baseball cost you a season. All right, for a pitcher. He's done. But CJ played with that. You didn't hear him bitch and complain, did you? No. He went out there, did his thing. Zion, look, somebody's heads are going to roll with this whole thing that David Griffin came out and said he was never medically cleared. Somebody said he was. Who's lying?
He's covered with
Yeah,
what Zion
exactly.
said. Yeah.
Exactly. And he, what was it? A strained hamstring cost you 41 games. And there's people those creepers are starting to pop up saying he don't want to be in New Orleans. And I had one person tell me, look at him, that he was fat. I was like, really? That's not what I saw when they played Golden State a few weeks ago. I didn't see Fat Albert out there. I saw Zion Williamson and all this stuff. Look, what you do in the offseason if you're the Pelicans, you make subtle moves. Don't make the big home run. You don't need the big home run. Alvarado's going to be back next year. What I would do is give Kyra Lewis every opportunity to be that guy at point. And if he's not that dude, figure it out fast and go get you a point. CJ is not a point guard. He's a two.
Not at all.
Never. He's a two. And they had that dude playing point. Silly.
Yeah.
Willie Green, I love you, Willie Green, but that was pure foolery to put that man at the one. You need to go get a top-notch one. Dame may be that dude, but that's probably going to entail moving some pieces. They have the roster. What lost them the game against Oklahoma City, and I know, Jared, you were talking a lot of yin-yang in advance of that game last week, but what lost that game? Willie Green. Why didn't you dominate the inside? Oklahoma City has no post game, none. And you have Valanciunas. You could have ran Hernan Gomez. You could have ran Jackson. You could have You could have slashed it to the goal. They had no They have no post defense. Oklahoma City, and you sit there and screw the pooch. I mean, it's silly. Exactly. Giddy. You let Giddy and SGA go off in the second half. Come on, man. That's on Willie, and he's going to get it right. He's going to get it right. But this Pelicans offseason is not about slam dunks, big moves. Fine tooth comb, dot an I, cross a T. Make that underrated move. It doesn't have to be Dame, but it doesn't have to be where you got to forfeit. There was a trade proposal, and I'm going to throw this out. I gave this one to you, VK, but not to you, Jared. And I'm going to give it to you now. And I would never do it. And I would hang the phone up if I'm the Pelicans. This is the trade. Zion, Dyson Daniels, the Lakers 2024 first, the Bucks 2026 first, to Dallas for Luka. No. Hell no. That takes away my enforcers on the inside. I got Jonas and that's it. I would never make that move because Luka's a great scorer. I don't know if he's a great player. I think he's a great scorer, but that's just my opinion. I mean, y'all.
I'm not trading for Luka.
Nah, I'm trading for Luka either.
Thank you.
And with that draft pick, I'm saying, like, if you want to go big, you don't want to go big for Dame Lillard. If the Pels don't get the number one pick and they still stick to a first rounder and stuff like that, the guy you're talking about, I think Lewis, to try to prove a point guard, he's not proved. To me, forget Lewis. You need to go get that boy from Kansas State, and you get him in the draft. Guess what? Pell's about to be straight, dude. Because this boy here from Kansas State, that point guard, he can go. He can create offense. And ain't just fact he can score the ball. He can pass.
He can face you up defensively.
Exactly. He averages about 8 assists a game. He had broken double figures in 2 tournament games. He had a triple-double in the second round. I'm like, this dude here can play. And I'm like, that will be perfect for the Pels. And especially with him and Alvarado coming off the bench, that and put CJ finally in his natural position, it will spell wonders for the Pels, and it'll make another step right then and there if we don't go for the blockbuster. But it will make a good upper step more than anything else. And now you gotta hope that Zion can stay healthy enough and ready to go. But like I said, it's a difficult situation in itself. But heads is gonna have to roll or something. Cause I don't know, something is up with this medical staff here in New Orleans, even before with Anthony Davis. And you can see Anthony Davis is fragile and everything else because he could get hurt anytime. But still, it's something with this medical staff, and I'm not gonna criticize them too much. Something is up. Something is up. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if people are not getting cleared. I don't know if they're getting the right health, the right rehab. I'm like this. These trainers has to be qualified trainers. Now I think they mostly come from Ochsner or whatever from the sports medicine department. These have to be big time experienced trainers. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's dropping the ball, but they gotta fix this quickly because this don't look good. This don't look good all around for the organization. Period.
All right. Before we end the show, I want to tell y'all a little something right quick. As we it's track season, and the district track meets have got underway. And there were 2 district track meets yesterday at Joe Yenny Stadium. District 10 4A, boys and girls. District 11 4A, boys and girls. And what I want to say is, next Tuesday at Joe Yenny, it's going down. It is going down for regionals. The 100-meter dash for the boys will be the best run of the whole state until the state. This is why I'm telling you this. David Kinsey for Shaw ran a 10.73. Jermaine Smith Mata from Warren Easton ran a 10.81. And Mike Williams from Shaw ran a 10.83. This is the race you all need to go and see next Tuesday. Now, other race you need to go and see? The 200-meter boys race. Why? Because you got about 5 to 6 dudes who can win their race. Mike Williams from Shaw, 22.15. David Kinsey, 22.41. Marlon from Helen Cox, 22.74. From District 11 4A, Jermaine Smith Mata, 21.75. That's his personal best. Eric Horn from Carver, 21.98. And Joe DuPlessis, 22.83. Telling y'all, this is the track meet to go and watch next Tuesday. It is going down.
It's going to be at Yenny?
At Yenny.
Okay. Are you going?
Yes.
My biggest thing is what time this thing, not just the fact what time this thing starts, what time, I try my best to cover track, and track is not really my sport, like talking about it. My thing about track is when the main event is, because I can't wait all day. Because of the fact of the matter is, we're looking at other people race, and we might not know who these people is. We might not know, and not knocking them, they compete. But I'm like, okay, when is the main race so we can watch this thing?
Well, I'm gonna say this. It's
gonna last about a couple minutes.
I'm gonna say this. They had both districts yesterday at Joe Yenny. They started at 12 for the field events. The races started at 5. So I can only think now that it's just regionals. It's going to start around 5. They actually got done right around 8:45. So I can only imagine they would be done around the same time. but I would think it would start again at 5 o'clock.
Okay. My biggest thing is like, I just want to watch the certain races, the big races, and then I can go home.
Of course, I
that's
understand.
that,
You want to
that's
see the
that's
four,
how,
you
that's how I
want to see
look
the
at it.
relays and the 200 and 100. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can't forget about Edna Karr. They got a real good track
In the
team.
call with the Catholic
So,
League, they 5A. I'm talking about just the 4A.
oh, okay. 'Cause I know the regions are next week. So,
Yes, that district this week.
yeah. Interesting to see. You know what I'm saying? I have a cousin that actually runs for Edna Karr. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
he's one of the best runners on the team and everything. He's being looked at a lot of schools, especially a couple of Ivy Leagues are looking at him because of his
Okay.
combination of his athleticism and grades.
Yeah.
His name is Bryson Osborne. So
Mm-hmm.
he's Bryson Osborne Jr. So he's really, really good. So, but I I might join you if I don't have anything on the schedule for Tuesday. I might join you for the occasion. Just to check it out. I was kind of shocked when you told me, like, you out there for track, like, but like I said, I'm more like, if it's something main event wise, okay, cool. Just
We got the race of
convince
the
me.
century. 1, 2, 3, and 100. I'm telling you, this is gonna be photo finish these three.
So you telling me race of the century? So you telling me it's gonna be like the time when Courtney Hogan and I believe there was Gerald Green going against one another in a race back then, which was a hellified track meet at that. Those two athletes, you go way
Those
back
two,
to
or when Joe McKnight
you
lost
go.
to your boy at St. James. Look at the game.
Oh, Luther Ambrose.
Yeah.
Luther Ambrose.
Mm-hmm.
But then also you go way back to where St. Aug had Desmond Johnson, who was a killer on the track. Then Shaw had a nice dude who was running track and was not just surprisingly, but surprisingly fast for who he is. And that's Richie Dillette. Richie Dillette was really, really fast. So, it's amazing when you talk about the certain track stars over the years, even the female track stars as well. Like, one of the best ones I probably ever seen. And there's maybe a few girls that came close to this girl, but this girl was unbelievable. Her name was Kim Centimore. I know you ought to heard of her. Kim
Mm-hmm.
Centimore was, whoo! It's just the fact is one of two things. We know she was good looking, but at the same time on that track, she was killer. She was killer on the track. Straight killer. Like, oh yeah, she looking good. She looking good out of a shoe. Kim Centimore was an awesome athlete. Another one that was as good as her was April Sams at Mandeville. April Sams was really, really good. Her and I think she had a brother that played football, BJ Sams. And I mean, man, a lot. I talked to some people that came from Mandeville, and they talk about her all the time.
George Peppers.
I mean, this is next Tuesday. What time next Tuesday?
I think 5. I'll find out for sure and let you know, but I believe it's at 5.
Okay, because I'm probably off early next
Uh-huh.
Tuesday. Um, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But I saw you. Was it you that posted? I think you followed a post, Jared, that showed a Texas track meet,
Yeah,
and
I shared
the
that
six,
post. Yeah.
you shared that, and then some dude that finished, I think, fifth or sixth, ran a 10.4. It's like, Lord, that's
Fourth
fast.
in
Yeah,
100 meters.
and he finished like fifth or sixth or whatever it was. I was like, son, them dudes run fast out there in Texas. Them
Jesus.
dudes got some jet speed,
Man,
you know.
they had the wind behind their backs. They had help.
Well, wind dated or not, it's still there. I mean, we can say what we want, but as a Michigan fan, I got to deal with David Kenzie when he gets to Penn State. and
Yeah,
having a fool with that guy. And James Franklin's going to utilize him right. But the track meet next week, this is the district meet or the state meet?
it's
This
regional
week was regionals
next week.
next
District
week.
was last night. It's
Regionals next
regionals.
week.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing regionals. All right. So we're going to see some better runners from around the state, around that region coming in to
On
see
every,
what's
but
going to happen.
I think what I saw last night with the boy from Warren Easton, Kenzie, Mike Williams, and then the 200 some more people for a special treat in the 100 and 200.
And I
So,
think whoever won the Caddy League and stuff, they're gonna be in Thibodeau next week.
Okay.
That's where they're
Yeah.
gonna be at. Who won the Caddy League meet anyway?
I don't.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know.
I know South
I
Plaquemine
know.
got their districts tomorrow at South Plaquemine.
Yeah, that's being run on South Plaquemines track, correct?
Yeah, South Plaquemine, they put up some fast times this year.
Yep.
Hmm.
I mean,
I wonder if Lyle Feet is behind the track program as well.
he's their football coach that I know of,
The AD too.
and an athletic director. So evidently, he's got to have a hand in that cookie jar too.
Yeah.
So we're doing a show next week.
So right now, yes.
Okay, it is in advance of the NFL draft next
That's
week.
the plan.
So, are we doing a mock, the three of us, or?
I think all we're gonna talk about, we'll plan it out, but I think all we're gonna do is probably break down how it's gonna look in the first round. Just a couple questions, especially dealing with the Saints and stuff. We're gonna have a special guest analysis next week for our draft, for looking at the NFL draft, and it's somebody I had on the show before that I'm gonna work on getting, and hopefully he'll join us, and it'll be big for our show and everything else. I don't think should we tell him who it could be, Jared, or should we just wait?
Let's just wait.
Let's
Wait.
I
They
mean,
haven't
keep
had
them in
any
suspense,
confirmation
dude.
yet.
Yes. Keep it
Exactly, because if you say it in advance and then something happens, schedule quirks and what, then you got to go to Plan B. Now, the next question I have is next Thursday. Are you both available for day one of the draft?
Well,
Might
I'm
be.
gonna see. I might. I know I'm gonna be in
Might be.
Baton Rouge. I'm gonna be in Baton Rouge Thursday evening.
Region 23. That's right.
No, the Region 23 in 2 weeks. Baton Rouge
Okay.
and Nunez is gonna
USCC.
be getting it on Friday, and
Mhm.
Baton Rouge and Nunez is gonna be getting on Thursday, and I'm gonna say Friday and Saturday. So I'm gonna be getting Baton Rouge on Thursday to get settled
I
in
was
here Friday.
I was
But
at, I
I
was
think I'll be free though,
I
just to
was
get settled.
asking because I was asking if y'all wanted to link up together and go watch the draft. And like, well, not Buffalo Wild Wings. They on strike. VK. They on strike for
What?
us. Buffalo
Oh,
Wild
y'all
Wings is
too.
on
Y'all
strike.
too.
Yes, dude,
Yeah.
they absolutely mutilated us. So they're on strike.
Oh, man.
And no, I'm not going to name the others. Well, I could say Hooters, but I wasn't about to name the other one. That's more revealing. But I'm not going to do that. Jared, I think you said you weren't free next Thursday.
I might be. I'll let you know.
You might be all right because I was thinking if we can, because I'm off at 2 o'clock Thursday. I start my 4-day weekend. I was thinking if the three of us can link up and go watch the draft. The first round.
Yeah,
And
I'll
get
be
to
in
see that.
I'll be in Baton Rouge on Thursday, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
why
So no.
I will be at. But if y'all be somewhere, shit, you can call me up. It's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
Oh, I ain't talking about broadcasting. I'm just talking about.
Not broadcast, socializing too. I'm saying like you can hit me up on the Facebook or whatever, or call me on the freaking phone and just.
Oh, we could do that. I know.
Yeah.
I know who's not going to get picked in the first round next week.
Cool.
Come on now. VK's agent. VK is the agent of this man, Stetson.
Man, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that. Man, go get drafted. That's what it's all about him getting drafted, getting an opportunity, man. I ain't tripping if he don't get picked in the first round. That's still my dog. That's still my inspiration in life. He's gonna get drafted.
A drunk?
A drunk that'll slap the hell out you. That's what he'll do.
Y'all too. He made a mistake. Get drunk. Hopefully
he did.
He makes better decisions from here on out. But with that being said, we close the show. I want to thank Jackson Fager, the director of Algiers America, for joining us on the show tonight. Everybody, go to Hulu and watch Algiers America. Episodes 1 and 2 are out now. You're going to like it. From my good friends, VK Jones and George Peppers, I'm JB, your sports guy. We will be back next week. We're trying to come back Monday. I'm getting up. Hold on. We're trying to come back Monday and Wednesday. So we will let y'all know. We're going to post it on the social media accounts. Also, subscribe to the YouTube pages. Vashawn Jones, that's the name of it again, or
Vashawn K. Jones on YouTube, Vashawn Jones on Facebook, and the real VK Jones on Instagram.
There you go. And me, JB, your sports guy. Thank y'all for watching. We'll be back next week. Y'all take care.